What is that, Buttons? What is it? Are you gonna say hi? Say hi. Hey guys, welcome to Dog Guide, a guide to a guide dog. I'm Swayze, and this is Buttons. I wanted to share my experience with you guys about what it's like to have a guide dog, what it's like to use one, and what it's like to train one. So I started this blog in order to share my experiences. But what exactly is a guide dog? Is it different than a service dog? And what about emotional support animals? Those are all great questions. And today in this vlog, I want to help answer them. So let's get started. So what exactly is a service dog? A service dog is defined as a dog that is individually trained to work or perform a task for a person with a disability. So what are some examples of that? Some of the best examples and the most common examples are a guide dog, or a dog that helps someone who is deaf and alerts them when something's going on. There's also dogs that can help people with seizures, who can alert them when they've come in contact with an allergy. There's also dogs that can help calm people down who have PTSD, or remind someone with a mental disability to take their medication. Dogs are very smart and they can do anything. What does a guide dog do? A standard guide dog for someone who is completely visually impaired does actually help guide the person. There's a harness that they use, and the guide dog will stop and maneuver around objects to help pull, for a lack of a better term, or push a person in the right direction so that they avoid things like poles, potholes, the street, cars, and even other people. They're very helpful, but you have to remember they have been trained for a long time. Most guide dogs are not actually fully trained until they're about 2 years old. Year and a half at the youngest, usually. What kind of guide dog is Buttons? My guide dog is very different than your standard guide dog. I mean, look at her. Because I'm not 100% blind, I don't need a dog that actually physically pulls me or guides me in any specific direction. Instead, Buttons is trained to walk on my right-hand side, my blind side, and helps me by telling me how close or how far I am away from things, according to the leash. And because I can't see her on that side, it doesn't really matter how big she is. It's all about how she handles the leash. I'll show you how she does that in another video. Isn't she cute? I actually trained Buttons myself, and she was probably about 3 when she was fully trained, maybe 2.5. No service dog is like another. I'm very lucky to have such a smart dog, but just remember that all service dogs come in many shapes and sizes, and just because you see one that doesn't look like your standard typical service dog, like a lab, doesn't mean that they're not real. I understand that there are a lot of fake service dogs out there, or people who abuse the emotional support dog system. And that's terrible. But we shouldn't detract from those who are truly trained service dogs. So what about an emotional support animal? Emotional support animals started out of basically the Fair Housing Act. People with mental disabilities need that comfort to be able to live properly. And so one of the things that became a problem was landlords were saying no to pets, and therefore someone couldn't live in their house comfortably. That seemed unfair, and it is. You need to be able to live in your own house in a comfortable manner. So they created this workaround where in order to be able to live in your house comfortably, the apartment has to be able to accommodate you. And an accommodation means to include the allowance of dogs. or pets in general. The one thing that's major difference about service animals versus emotional support animals is that service animals are only dogs, and emotional support animals are a huge, wide range. They can include everything from dogs and cats, and if you've heard the stories, peacocks. Well, an emotional support animal is not covered under the ADA, and therefore the only rights that an emotional support animal has are non-public areas, such as in your own home and getting a waiver for that right. You can also ask for a waiver for accommodation on airplanes, but because it's not covered under the ADA, businesses are not required to allow you to bring your animal in with you. My recommendation, if you are going to have an emotional support animal, and actually call it an emotional support animal, not just a pet, please train it. They deserve to be trained just like everybody else. And if you are going to be bringing them out in public, then they really should be taken care of properly. So that's my first video. Thank you guys so much for watching. To come, I'm gonna start showing you videos about what Buttons is trained to do, how I trained her, and a few extra little surprises. I can't wait to show you more. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment if you feel so zealous. And now, I'd like to introduce you to a moment of Z's.